welcome back. I just shot the film for my Jason Voorhees costume, and there's a point of the film where I talk about the latex hood, or the silicone hood. The biggest thing that you're going to bump into going into Jason costumes and making one yourself and putting one together yourself is the debate. Latex versus silicone. Latex is fantastic. It's a much cheaper route, and it does the job pretty well. If you're going for a part 6 or a part 7 or part 9, anything that involves Jason that doesn't look really human, definitely go for latex, because it's the way to be, and it doesn't break the bank. The problem with latex, well, you can't really get a good flesh tone with it. So if you're doing those Jasons, you're fine. If you're going for a part 3, part 4, or the reboot style, from far away, it's going to look great, but on camera or within a couple feet, it's going to look like a rubber mask. And that's the biggest difficult problem with falling into Jason hoods and latex hoods. The argued debate between latex and silicone. Silicone is what they used in the film. Especially in the later films, in the reboot film, they used strictly silicone. Silicone breathes and moves just like how flesh would. Latex does not breathe and move at all. So that's your biggest difference between the two. Wearing a latex hood, you're very stiff, you're very, you can't really move your neck. You're just kind of like looking around, using your whole upper body to look around and move your head. Silicone, you have the freedom, you have movement, you have all kinds of stuff. And the cool thing about it is that it moves as if it was your neck, as if it was your head. So the muscles and everything going around, it looks fantastic for film, it looks fantastic for pictures. That's how much freedom that you have in silicone. Putting it on is a night and day difference too. I'm not claustrophobic, but I have been claustrophobic putting on a latex hood. Silicone hood, it takes 2 seconds to put it on and take it off, and it's really, really manageable, big time compared to latex. Another thing to consider is that silicone lasts much, much longer than latex. Silicone will last longer than me. Silicone will last through anything, and it's much more durable, and it stretches, it breathes better. So just the overall pros and cons between silicone and latex. I mean, I'm not the only guy talking about it. There's a huge list of pros and cons. But if you have the money and you have the resources and you have the ability to get a silicone hood and not sell your car for it, definitely I recommend it all day long. So with that being said, I spent years using latex hoods. I started with the Devil's Latex. They're great. I just don't really care for their quality. They're obviously the most recommended through Instagram and Facebook and the forums. Everyone has passed through the Devil's Latex website. They make great hoods of all the different styles of Jason, and they make great Halloween masks and such. I just don't really care for their quality, because the first time I ordered a Devil's Latex hood, it was like 8 sizes too big for me, and I had to wear like 3 winter hats to fill in the empty gaps. It was painted well, but it did not show up well at all on camera and on film. If I'm wearing this to conventions, I'm taking pictures, I kind of don't want to look like a joke. I want it to look good, at least. But overall, me personally, I've had a bad taste in my mouth for the Devil's Latex. So, it sounded horrible when I say that out loud. So I quickly ditched them. I fell into some other companies. I started making one myself using a Halloween mask, and that lasted for not long at all. Going up and down the street, I realized there's a company called DSSmasks.com. Dark Side Studios is what they're called, and they're local here in Florida. I believe they used to be out of Miami. I don't think they still are or not. They're all over YouTube, all over Instagram. They look fantastic, and they're all latex masks. I ordered his Bad Camper hood and absolutely fell in love with it. It looks phenomenal for a latex mask. The hair of it and everything on it was perfect. I will say the hair on the Devil's Latex mask was terrible. It was like plastic hair, like that you would find at a $4 Walmart mask. and it didn't meet my expectations for what they were selling me from their website. And when I got it in the mail, it just was terrible, in my own honest opinion. But other people love it, and that's great. But Dark Side Studios, I loved that latex hood. I started ordering them through them exclusively because they were just so great. Although wearing latex hoods, I found myself in that frustration of not being able to really move at all. I would only be able to wear it for maybe like an hour until I'd have to I get to a point where I literally want to rip it off my head. The hood itself is great. However, it was the exact opposite of the Devil's Latex. It was too small for my head. And it literally was like as if someone was squeezing my head from side to side. And I had the worst headaches and migraines. As well as it looked on film and on pictures, it just didn't really work for me for what I wanted in the long run. So I was beating around the bush for a long time, for many years, and then I fell into, you know what, it's time to get a silicone hood. So I started researching silicone masks and silicone hoods. There's not many out there, surprisingly. There's a lot of masks that you can buy for silicone, but not a lot of Jason ones. There's a generic bald mask that you can get that a lot of people have picked up and just cut out the face and then boom, you get a hood. I considered doing that, but I wanted something more authentic and more detailed. Everyone was recommending CFX masks or CFX Studios, I forgot their name. They were advertised everywhere for silicone masks, and they had a Jason hood. However, looking at reviews on YouTube and on Instagram, I heard a lot of pros and cons about them. A lot of people complained how they were just way too small. A lot of people complained there was tightness around the neck. A lot of people complained about it just wasn't appearing as they thought it would appear in person as they did on film. Ups and downs. So, but then I heard a lot of people who love them and swear by them. A couple of YouTube people, like a couple of YouTubers on here, love them and they worship them and they love their CFX hoods. However, they're pretty. They are pretty basic. They're based off the Part 3 Jason, which is great, the classic look. But hearing the pros and cons, the reviews, I just didn't want to take the gamble at all. I didn't want to take the risk of possibly getting something that just was not going to fit and would not work, that I spent way too much money on. So I didn't want to take the gamble at all. But I got to the point where I had really no choice. So my last resort was to basically talk to all the guys that I know already. So I got a hold of Devil's Latex. I said, look, I'm in the market for a silicone hood. They instantly told me, no chance. Like, no, not at all. We're not doing that. I went to Dark Side Studios, DSS Masks. He said, I said, I'm in the market for a silicone hood. And he said, I'm not doing silicone. I'm not going to play around with silicone, but I can make you another latex hood in a different size if you want me to. I mentioned how his were really tight on me and really small. It wasn't until last minute, towards the end of the bottom of the line, I know that Josh Ludemann, who was making my shirts and my jackets and stuff for Jason, he offered masks, and he actually had a Part 3 silicone hood available at the time on his website. So I sent him an email for the piss of it, and I said, hey man, I'm in the market for a silicone hood in the reboot style. Can you pull it off? And if not, can you point me in the direction of someone who can, maybe? And he got back to me within like a week, and he said, I'll do it. Yeah, no problem. I said, really? Like, and I got really excited. And he says, yeah. He said, let's do it. I have a mold, because he's been offering a latex version of the reboot style. And he says, I got to retire the mold because the mold is just, it's, a mold that you make a mask with has a lifespan. And I guess that mold was pretty much done. He says, I'm doing this as a one-time. He told me, he says, this is a one-time mask. I'm not going to go do this and offer this in a production or offer this on my website, but I'll make you a silicone hood using my remake mold, and it's going to work out perfectly. And I got so excited. I said, oh my God, this would be so great. And then we started emailing back and forth about, I started asking him all kinds of questions. Is it going to be durable enough? Is it going to fit me? Is it going to do all this stuff? And he took his time with me, and he guaranteed everything for me. It's going to fit. It's going to be durable. He told me, honestly, you can wear this thing and jump into the lake and crawl out of it. It's going to be perfectly fine. It's never going to get ruined. Silicone is not going to stain. If there was a blood spatter or some kind of water or any type of moisture, it's not going to harm the silicone, which is a big upswing compared to latex, because latex will degrade with sweat and moisture and stuff. Latex will just melt away like acid. But he took his time talking to me, and we had both had great ideas about talking about putting together the hood. He says, "Look, man, I definitely want to do this. This sounds really exciting. However, I got the next month booked for conventions." At the time, he was doing conventions. This is before COVID, obviously. He was showcasing his props and masks and stuff at conventions, and he had the whole month booked. I said, "No problem, dude." I said, "We can get going with it once you get back." And he sent me a quote, which was much lower than I was expecting it to be, because I was looking at silicone masks being $1,000 and up. His quote was remarkably smaller than that. And I said, "Dude, this is perfect." So I sent him the money order, and we got it. He says, "Yeah, okay, I just got it." I said, "We'll get rolling on this real soon." And he says, "I'm going to send you pictures. I'm going to send you pictures in the process of making it." I said, "Dude, this is perfect." So a month later, he gets back from his convention run, and we start talking again. And he starts making my mask and starts laying down the silicone. He started sending me pictures, and it was so exciting. It was so cool. It was everything that I was hoping it was going to be. Basically, step by step, he walked me through what he was doing and how he was doing it. We also talked about the color of the mask, how, he made it a slightly redder and slightly more like a sunburnt look, basically, because we talked about how, in the 2009 reboot of Jason, he just lives out in the middle of the woods, and during the summertime, he's out and about. You would think Jason would be a little sunburned. So we discussed that, and he actually added that into the silicone hood, and he actually painted it that way, as if he was a little bit sunburned. And because part 3 and everything, Jason, he's awfully pale to be a man living in the woods, if you think about it. But he put that together, and the eye, the fake eye and the mask, he didn't. I said, "How are you going to pull that off?" He goes, "I'm not going to use glass. I'm going to use silicone." The way that he painted it was perfect. I mean, it looks as real as you can get. And the hair is real hair. I believe it's horse hair or something like that. But it's definitely real. It moves and sits like real hair. Everything about it, man, every picture that he was sending me, every email that he sent me was just more and more of exactly what I had in mind when I was hunting for a hood, the very first hood that I ever got years prior. Closer and closer towards the date of him shipping off to me, it finally shipped off to me. He says, "Hey man, I hope you enjoy it. Let me know it gets to you safe." And I said, "Absolutely." It gets in the mail, and I am just blown away by the product. I'm just blown away by the quality and the detail of it. I mean, the veins and the skin pores and everything. You cannot get that with a latex hood. You cannot get that with a latex mask whatsoever. And the layers of paint and the layers and upon layers that he put into the silicone, he made it like such a perfect flesh tone. And then once I put it on, it was like, it fit like a glove. The way that I put on, the hoods, I have an undershirt to wear, and then I use a balaclava, basically to flatten everything out and fill in the excess room, if there ever is any. And it makes sliding things on much easier and simpler. And once I put it on, man, the way that it moved, the way that it felt, it was so perfect. That's just one step further from my dream since I was a kid, is to be and dress as Jason Voorhees, as if I were to play him in a film. So this is it. This is my silicone hood, made for me by Josh Ludemann at Beyond Disgusting Studios. It's perfect in every way. It's completely silicone, laid down by hand. The details, the wrinkles of the skin, the pores, everything shows up. Even the deformed ear here. Everything about it is perfect. The eye, it looks wet, but it's silicone. And the thing about silicone, I mean, this chin, the first thing that threw me off when I put this on, because my chin sits right where this chin is, and this is just a thick piece of silicone, and this feels so real, as if it was flesh. And the hair, I mean, the hair is sitting weird right now, but the hair is hand punched. He said I did it by hand. Everything about this thing, I mean, you can see the veins, you can see the details of this thing, and just truly remarkable. The amount of time that he put into this thing for me, and the passion. I mean, he's just a fellow fan. I mean, it's a little bunched up right here because of my fabric that's inside there. And the thing about silicone is that it stretches. It's very, very. It's molded to your head. That's how it moves so easy. But I cannot be happier with this thing. I cannot thank him enough for pulling this off. And like he said to me, he says, I'm only going to do this one time, because after this the mold is shot and I got to retire the mold. He told me it sounds like fun and something different for him to work on, so that's why he took on the job. Another thing I asked him, I said, what about the lifespan for this thing? He goes, dude, this hood is going to outlive you. I said, okay, that's enough for me to know. I was so excited to get this thing, and now to have it in my possession, it's truly by far one of my most prized possessions that I own. And this thing is truly, truly remarkably well made. Josh Ludemann is he's well known in the market of Friday the 13th, but the amount of detail and work that he puts into this stuff is just out of this world. And he's such a good artist, and he's such a good guy. And a huge, huge fan too. That's why half of my costume is made by him, because his quality and his details are spot on. The jacket that he made me, even the shirt that he offers to anyone, everything about it, and this hood, I am truly thankful for putting this together with him. And to know that it's a one-of-a-kind piece. It's truly a one-of-a-kind. He says there's going to be no other piece like this out there in the world. And I have it. And it's cool. It's cool to have something made for you that's one of a kind. And especially as a prop collector and a costumer, I can't get enough of this stuff. And I wear it as often as I can for Halloween events or costumes or such. And I tell you, I mean, this thing, when you see it in person, it looks just as good as it does on film. When people see it, they believe it's real flesh. People believe it doesn't look like makeup. It doesn't look like a latex mask either. And people are always wowed by it, especially when if I ever lift up the hockey mask to see my real face underneath it. People get really shocked because they think it's all makeup. They think it's my real head. But it's definitely a piece worth 1,000 conversations, because it's truly remarkable, and I love it. I'm truly grateful for it, and thank you, Josh Ludemann, and over at Beyond Disgusting Studios, for making it happen. Well, he put this together a few years ago. I'm just now making the film for it, and even though I told him that I was going to make it much sooner than that, so I do apologize for that, dude. But thank you very much, dude, for nailing it off. And he's a great artist. He's a great guy. Huge fan. And definitely check him out. He offers all kinds of stuff on his website. Definitely bug him and hit him up for some Friday the 13th stuff, because he's, in my opinion, the best in the business. Thanks for pulling that off. But this is me talking about my rubber head, my silicone head. I hope you enjoyed as much as I enjoy wearing it, and thanks for watching. Later.